Why are the Lakers so easy to why do they have such bad tells as to what they're doing?
You know what? And Chris Broussard brought this up, and I believe him, that because they lost out on Paul George, and you remember they took for granted basically that he was coming. The word for 2 years was Paul George wants to play for the Lakers. So they didn't really go after him. They didn't pursue him. It was kind of like a foregone conclusion.
Well, they didn't even get a meeting with him, to be honest.
Because he declined a meeting with Magic. But I'm saying because it was kind of a laissez-faire attitude towards that, now they want to let everybody know, Anthony Davis, we want you. We're going after Anthony Davis. We'll give up anything just to get him. So now it's like, you're right. Everything is on Front Street. Everything is out there, and I think that they're mishandling it. The whole front office and the way things have been handled, total disaster. And here we are, Lakers out of the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how they fix it, if they're able to fix it.
Doug, I don't think they'll be able to fix it because I don't see a star player joining LeBron James, and I also don't see the Pelicans wanting to make a deal with the Lakers. I don't see it. They will look everywhere, high and far, anybody else, because the Lakers came to steal their player, so they don't want to make a deal with them.
Listen, that sounds good, but if they offer, 3 young starters and draft picks, if they offer the kitchen sink, I think you're going to end up
from the starters that just couldn't make the playoffs, couldn't beat the Bulls.
They weren't
Cavs.
healthy.
No, I'm talking about when they lost to the Bulls and Cavs. Those guys were healthy.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
Yes, they were healthy.
They haven't had Lonzo Ball.
Oh, Lonzo's a different. He's the reason why they're out of the playoffs.
Well, I think it's a big reason they're out of the playoffs is they're not healthy. When they were healthy, they were a playoff team at least.
Okay. Did they have a chance to make the playoffs when LeBron came back from his injury?
Yes.
And did they lose to the Hawks and New Orleans without AD?
Yes.
And to Memphis?
Yes.
And to the Suns?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not disputing any of that. I'm not disputing that change isn't needed, but I think honestly, the parts that are going to change out, many of the parts that are going to change out are actually the good parts.
I'll bet you chicken wings right here, right now, that New Orleans will not make a deal with the Lakers.
You're probably right. Like, look, you got all kinds of different factors working against you. Who you're going to hire as your head coach if you fire Luke Walton. By the way, Luke was doing a good job before LeBron got hurt.
Luke will be fired.
Okay, but we all agree Luke's going to be fired, right? If you hire Ty Lue, who's seen as a LeBron guy, you run into the same thing they've run into before, which is a lot of guys like, look, I'm not Team LeBron. I'm not rep by Rich Paul. Other agents don't want to do business there. It becomes trickier. Right? So then you get, and even if you rebuild it around what they did, for example, in Cleveland, right, where you put all shooters, you had Kevin Love, and you had, when they won, they had Kyrie Irving, which is another star.
Sure.
So even if you rebuild it around LeBron with shooters, you're depending on LeBron to be the same LeBron of 2 or 3 years ago, and he's not that guy.
And that's the best point, because I think that's where everybody thought LeBron is just going to be LeBron, even though the numbers, Doug, are still there, right? 28, 8, and 8, or whatever it is, 27, 8, and 8. They're not the same impactful numbers that they used to be to me. They don't. LeBron, in years gone by, he would be able to beat the Suns in Memphis almost by himself.
Yeah.
He can't do it anymore.
No, look, he's statistically dominant, but if you watch the game, there's many plays in which he takes off. And he doesn't look like the same athlete. Who is the same athlete with that much tread worn off the tires? We'll see if he loses weight, if he can transform himself, if the extra time off helps him. But I'm generally with you. Guys don't get, like, we all operate like, well, it's going to be the same old LeBron. No one's the same at 34, 35 that they were at 30. It doesn't exist unless you're going to, do what baseball players did and use steroids, going back a decade ago. Zion Williamson's going to play tonight. I have an opinion of him. I'd love yours.
I think he's a fantastic player. I think people have gone off the rails with this prisoner of the moment that he should be in the Hall of Fame tomorrow, and he's a top 50, top 20 player in the NBA. He's a man amongst boys in college, and I think until we see him come to the pros and play against other players more on his level, we really don't know. And, Doug, I can go back on and on and on about the great college players who didn't transfer over. Am I saying he's going to be a bust or he's not a great player? I'm not saying that. But Christian Laettner might be a top 5 college player of all time when you add it all up. And he was an also-ran in the pros who went to one All-Star game and is probably more famous for getting punched in the mouth by Jerry Stackhouse than anything else he did in the NBA. So I'm just saying, and he won 2 titles in college for Duke, and is an author of a couple of fantastic finishes and moments in college basketball.
Well, look, hold on. First of all, just in full disclosure, Christian Laettner should not have been on the Dream Team.
He was.
But I know. But if you're an all-star, you're not an also-ran as an NBA player.
He's an also-ran. As far as where people thought his career was going to be.
Okay. Look,
that's all I'm saying.
Here's what's going for Zion, which wouldn't have been going for Zion if you go back to when Christian Laettner was coming out, right? Is that if you go back 15 years ago, he would have had to become a small forward, power forward. Now he can do exactly what he's doing at Duke in the NBA. Be a power forward who can handle the ball and also play small ball 5. He's the same size as Draymond Green. He's got crazy athleticism. He has a high basketball IQ. Look, I think he's going to be a terrific pro.
So do I.
Terrific pro.
I'm not doubting that at all.
I don't think he's a top 20 player right now in the world, or maybe even top 50 player, because look, college basketball is way more watered down than it's been, and he's great, but he is a man playing against boys, men playing against men. It's a completely different story. The question that NBA people are asking is, do you take Ja Morant over him? Because Ja Morant, and maybe even R.J. Barrett, I wouldn't take Barrett over him, but Morant plays the style that you want a lead guard to play. And much like quarterbacks in the NFL, they have more value. When you handle the ball every time down the court, you have more value than when you're a small ball 4, small ball 5. Would you shun conventional wisdom, which says take Zion Williamson, sell out every place in your every seat in your arena, and would you take Ja Morant?
Well, the problem is, it's a business. And who's selling tickets? NCAA ratings are up 8%. I get all that. And if you're a GM making that gutsy call, you better make sure you get that right. Because if you don't take him and he winds up being that guy that they're all claiming he is, it'll be a blunder. So I would be stunned if anybody was man enough to not take him with the first overall pick, whether or not. And don't forget, there were GMs who took Olajuwon and Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan, right? Because they normally go after the bigger guys.
Yeah. I mean, look, but this is not a bigger guy; it's a smaller guy. But yes, look, it's if you take Ja Morant over him, you better make sure you get it, you nail it.
You got to nail it. You have to, or your job is done.
Well, yes, because you have to tell your owner, hey man, I know we were going to make a whole bunch of money off of the court, but I got a better player. I want to ask you about Bryce Harper last night. Bryce Harper 0 of 3, did have a walk, did score a run. But considering the contract, considering the hype, I understand it's just baseball, it's just day one.
It's one game, and you can't get too caught up on an 0 for 3. But this is it. And I know some people are pushing back on Philly fans. First of all, the scene, Doug, was unbelievable with the crowd for him. I mean, the thing that they've done in Philly is amazing. We know he signed a $330 million contract, but here's the other thing. The Phillies sold 100,000 tickets in 24 hours after he was signed, which is an incredible number of tickets. He also outsold LeBron's L.A. Laker jersey with his name on it online after he signed with Harper signed with Philly, and now he's also passed Aaron Judge for the highest selling jersey in Major League Baseball, which tells you this is a guy who moves the needle. And there are going to be those bad nights where he strikes out 2 or 3 times. There'll be those big home run nights. The Phillies have a really good team. Maybe the pitching isn't as good as some of the other teams, but their lineup is solid. I'm telling you, this is a good thing for baseball, good thing for Bryce Harper. And Philadelphia fans are as passionate as they get. They booed him after he struck out his second time in the debut. I get it. But they'll also, the next inning, cheer him like there's no tomorrow if he hits a big home run or gets a big hit.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.